One model of team building that anyone who went to business school for their MBA or sat for their PMP exam to get certified as a project management professional knows about is the Tuckman Ladder. Basically, it breaks down the life cycle of teams into 5 stages: forming or creating the team, storming, the drama stage, norming, a cooling down stage, and performing, where the work actually gets done. Then there's the adjourning stage, the so-called death of the team. Now, Tuckman was a psychologist, not an entrepreneur, so let's see if his model plays out in real life. Right away, the first concern that many business owners like myself have is the last phase, right? Why would you want your team to end? Funny thing is, the adjourning stage wasn't even in the original model, so don't judge Tuckman too harshly for that. The Project Management Institute, or PMI, has really bought into Tuckman's theory, and since they work on projects which are by definition temporary, it makes sense that a temporary project will have a temporary team. If you want your team to stand the test of time, just ignore the adjourning phase. It doesn't really have to apply to your business. Now, every team needs to start somewhere, so the forming stage is pretty common sense. When you hire your first worker, you are forming a team. Whether that worker is a W-2 employee, a 1099 contractor, even an outside service provider, these are all parts of your team that you have varying levels of control over. Even a family business must go through some sort of forming stage to figure out specific roles and responsibilities. Next comes the storming stage, and this is really the first place where I kind of divert from Tuckman's theory. Don't get me wrong, I've been on plenty of teams that seem to be in a state of constant drama. Some of them never got past the storming stage, even after years and years and even decades in business. But I don't think that this needs to be an unavoidable phase for your business. It comes down to good leadership versus poor leadership, right? Rather, I look at this as a warning from Tuckman rather than a mandatory phase. People are going to have conflicting ideas, and sometimes a lot of this is healthy, right? If you're trying to serve customers, you're going to have different ideas on how to do this best. However, a lot of the conflict that I've seen in startups and especially in the corporate world has nothing to do with differing ideas on how to make a better product or better serve the customers, right? Instead, it's mostly personal and ideological issues that could have been avoided in the first place. Usually, honest disagreements about the best way to make something or to deliver service with the mission in mind, those get resolved, right? With no hard feelings. Because even if your idea loses out in the end, if the customers are happy and your product moves forward and your service moves forward and you get to further a cause that you actually believe in, everybody's happy and you can always try again next time. But if there's a constant war for your company's culture, you're going to have insane employee churn rates, and even the people who do stay will start actively working against your business goals. A lot of this so-called storming activity can be avoided by just being more intentional about your hiring process. First step of this is to be honest about what your company stands for in every single job posting and on every single interview, and make all candidates present you with their own core values before you make a commitment to let somebody on your team. Now, you'll probably have a lot fewer candidates that make it in the final stage. You may even get some haters. You might get some horrendous Glassdoor reviews, but you're only weeding out the people who are going to do you harm in the long run. So it's okay to have some haters at this point because you're selecting for true believers, and people will self-select and not want to be on your team, and therefore not apply or not move forward, which is actually what you want. You want the people applying and moving forward to be the ones that care about what you care about. It's not about duplicating yourself. It's about everybody pulling on the same rope together. Now, next is the norming stage. And if you've taken my advice, you've probably been able to avoid most of the storming pitfalls. So this shouldn't really need to be a super time-consuming phase either, right? If you can take care of most of the storming during the hiring process, during the interview process, during the job posting process, it's not going to be actively while these people are on the payroll, right? This is, so the norming stage is really something that a lot of it can be taken care of during the hiring process. First and foremost, make technical demonstrations mandatory. That way you know how much training they'll require. You want people that are already pretty decent. But honestly, sometimes it's okay. You're at least aware of what training is required, right? So these demonstrations should be part of the interview process. Before you hire someone, you want to see their skills. Don't make it too overwhelming, but you want to be able to look at someone and say, okay, I have faith that they can figure out what we're trying to do. And you also want to get your existing team's buy-in before committing to a new employee or service provider. That goes back to preventing a lot of the storming as well. If you bring someone into a team that's peaceful, or a new service provider into a team that's peaceful, and they create drama, that's not going to help you. So by minimizing the storming, you can minimize the norming. Make sense? Now, regular training is important, especially when it comes to upskilling your workers and expanding people's skill sets. If you want your team to grow, if you want to hire people and grow with them, some amount of training is going to be required, but that doesn't mean it needs to be a whole phase where someone can't be doing productive stuff while they are upskilling. You should also always be building company culture by earning employee loyalty and respect. Those are two things that don't get talked about enough these days: loyalty and respect. Now, one thing Peter Drucker said that always stuck with me is that workers don't owe you loyalty, right? They owe you performance, but they don't owe you loyalty. He's right. They don't owe it to you, but you can earn it. If you're diligent in the hiring process and you've taken all my advice before, even if people eventually leave your team, they're going to do it in ways that show loyalty and respect to you, right? So this brings us to performing. Now, this is where you want your team to be 99% of the time. It's kind of an insult to even call this a phase, right? This should be the status quo. This is the lifeblood of your business. Stay in active communication with your team and always ask them what resources they want to carry out your plan. This is all about servant leadership. It is so much easier to be a servant leader to people who are actually bought into your vision already. You're going to want to serve them, and they're going to appreciate your version of servant leadership. That's one thing you can never delegate, is your vision, right? Delegate the details. Do not delegate the vision. Get people on board who are true believers in what you are trying to do, and then make it your job to serve these people as they carry out your mission. If you hire the right people and take good care of them, you can't go wrong. If you'd like to learn more about these principles, you can pick up a copy of my book, Lead, Serve, Win. Right now, the Kindle version is on sale for just $1, and that will definitely be going up. So I'd rather you get it now than have to pay more later. You can also get a hard copy at the link below. Also, if you want to learn more about what you can do as a business leader to build a team where you won't ever have to worry about adjourning them, you can schedule a free consultation with me and my team. Thank you, and as always, Keep leading, keep serving, and keep winning.